Sometimes in audio, you're going to try stuff and you're not going to love it. And you might even go into it knowing you won't love it, which will color your impression just a bit. This is how I'm going to start talking about the TRN whale shark. And this isn't to say it's a bad IEM by any stretch of the imagination, just why it's really not the right one for me, with enough issues to make it kind of an uncomfortable experience. Thanks to my buddies iLaws from the B Media Discord for sending this to me to demo, along with a couple others. So let's just get right into it, right?
Well, I got to listen to an IEM that I would have never bought on my own, and got to confirm some of my own biases. There's a lot of talk, and perhaps derision, over the idea of graph sniffers in the hobby, or people who look at a graph, say they know what it sounds like, and move on. Graph sniffing isn't an absolute though, but once you're more comfortable in the hobby, you'll be able to get a good idea of how something sounds by looking at a graph. In the case of the whale shark, I looked at the graphs, the chonky shells, and the driver layout, and for the price, I knew it wasn't for me. The whale shark is a unique looking IEM with huge metal shells, and it goes for a rather unique driver layout in 3 dynamic drivers and a magnetic planar driver. The way the crossover works is there's 2 stacked dynamic drivers to handle bass and mids, and then, in theory, a smaller dynamic driver stacked with the planar to handle the treble. When I looked at the graphs, it's difficult for me to not see what looks like dynamic driver treble bleeding through though. The giant spike at 8K, the one at 12, and some of the stuff in the upper mids looks almost exactly like the 7Hz 02 that I own, which my kids sorta goobered up, and when I swapped the filters out for the 7Hz branded ones, I definitely didn't get the same frequency response as it came with. They look similar. It also looks like the Fosse IM4. What I'm getting at is that it looks like a rather untuned dynamic driver frequency response, which is something I kind of enjoy. My goobered up, new filtered 7Hz 02 actually sounds really good to me. I guess my fear is the whale shark has less engineering than it should, at least on the surface. The thing is, it actually sounds good, surprisingly good, minus one glaring problem. For me, 8K is one of my sensitivities, which when measured on a 711 clone like I have, is going to look worse than it actually is. But it's still there, and it's still a lot. Part of what makes this an interesting IEM is the scoop right before the ear gain at 800 Hz, the peak at 8K, and the peak at 12K. What this actually does is adds a sense of spaciousness that a lot of people call soundstage. IEMs don't actually do soundstage, at least not in the way that some headphones can or that speakers do. But modifying these frequency ranges gives the impression of soundstage. The problem I have here is that it sounds a little too airy and hissy with that 8K peak. And when I added some EQ just at that band, this IEM goes from sounding pretty good to sounding amazing. Now look, I had to take it down about 10 decibels to get it in a good place. That's a lot. This brings me to my biggest problem with this IEM, which is the heft though. It's so heavy, the shells are large, bulbous, made of metal, and just extremely heavy. The shape means they fit in your ear, but they don't do a good job of gripping onto anything, leaving ear tip selection as pivotal, as well as the ear hooks on the cables. In addition, I noticed an insane amount of driver flex in these, where I would press them in, and you can hear the driver flexing, which is an awful sound. If you haven't heard it before, it sounds like paper crinkling in your ears. This means massive metal shells covered in a weird design and blingy gems, but not enough actual venting for the drivers to make these useful. This, in addition to the weight, makes these incredibly difficult to wear long term for me. The pressure buildup from the lack of ventilation, the driver flex, and the weight.
All of this stuff combined is what makes this an incredibly difficult IEM for me to recommend, and it's sort of a shame, because it's an IEM with good ideas, a generous amount of tips, a solid case, and a good cable, similar to what I've already owned before in the K-Bear P4. It might actually be the same exact cable, whatever, it's a whole weird OEM kind of world, yet there's enough issues with the tuning, the driver configuration, and just the general weight of the shells that makes it a no-go for me. So hopefully that you find this helpful. Subscribe to my, I don't know, all of this nonsense, YouTube, TikTok, I have a Patreon, same username, DVEWLSH. All of my fiction goes up on there. You got a whole archive of cool stuff, plus you can support me, and maybe other cool stuff goes there. I don't fucking know. Thanks.